Welcome to another episode of The Quad. So, it's been a while since we've been a quad. I think last week Jemar was on retreat, and then Sadad
was also on retreat.
Retreat, it is.
That's crazy. We were at the same retreat.
So, this little backstory, our recording time was at 3 p.m. last week, and Sadad decided to leave from Los Angeles at 3 p.m.
To all the viewers, I'm incredibly sorry for my absence. It won't ever happen again, hopefully, with the will of God. I know this podcast incredibly suffered from my absence.
We actually did it.
I know that.
That was a great episode, actually. But
yeah, you guys actually did the best numbers this podcast has ever done. But I know correlation does not mean causation.
Yeah, that's true. In this case, correlation does mean causation.
Well, I guess I should just leave then. Maybe this is not the podcast
no, I'm just kidding. No, we missed you, Sadad. We missed you, Jemar.
Thank you.
It's nice to be back into a quad after a while.
Together again.
Yeah. So, yeah, kind of, wait, what happened?
We're not women anymore, you know?
What? That's crazy. We're not even a minute in, I don't think.
We just started.
Yeah.
We just started.
We did not start over. I want to make a collage by maybe by episode 15 on how many times Sadad's like, hey, can we just cut the camera?
Can we start over?
Yeah. Wait, what happened? Why were you late, Sadad?
Okay, so, after a night of heavy studying, for the LSAT.
You're so
Just lying on camera.
Okay, throughout the week, honestly, you guys know my sleep schedule. I don't sleep that well because of my procrastination. But anyway, so I think I just had huge sleep debt to begin with, and then the previous night, I was with my friends. We got in and out from Westwood, in and out near UCLA, and then we just gave each other a therapy session, similar to what we do on here. For very late into the night at some viewpoint. It was very romantic.
Yeah, but the recording time was at 3.
Yeah, okay. So because of that, I slept in. I woke up at 1:32, and then life just happened. Life just
Yeah.
Well, I gave myself 45 minutes, which is still not a lot, but I think that day was Lunar New Year.
So you're blaming the Asian population?
Yeah. So if it wasn't for these damn East Asians. Oh my god. If it wasn't for these Chakmun Namoy. No. Don't get my joy.
Why do you keep going?
We actually have to start.
He's been back for 5 minutes.
We actually have to start over.
You still have a problem,
guys. We just started.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, let's move on, Jemar. How was your retreat?
Oh no, it was really good. It was a really good time. We did it with another church. I think my biggest takeaway, to keep it short, was my group was a lot of other people who are 21 and 22. And so it was a good space for me to be with other peers of similar age and share about our life experiences and stuff. So very, very solid retreat in Paris. We had an Airbnb in Paris. Which is
okay. I was
yeah, what kind of bougie like that? 20 minutes east of Riverside. Oh my god! You're crazy. You were in there? Let's move on. But I saw
God.
Yeah.
I'm back, baby.
Guys, it's only 10:30.
Oh man.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, the other episode looked really good. A lot of viewers really liked
the
clips that were on the social media and stuff.
How could you agree? You didn't even watch
No, I did watch it. What are you talking about?
You said you watched a clip.
No. Okay, I didn't watch. Bro, y'all are making me
He doesn't care
look
about
unprofessional.
He doesn't care about this.
Did you watch the episode?
No, yeah, it was my favorite episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What made it your favorite episode?
I think we had it.
What was your favorite part?
Shout out to our guests. I think our guests were.
What were guest names?
Okay.
That's great. That's crazy. Little fact check.
Sorry, it's not racist and lying.
No. I'm better with faces than names,
Alright, name us a clip that wasn't one of the ones Jamar posted on our YouTube reel. Alright, so we can clearly see who the least dedicated member of the quad is here.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. Alright. Well, anyways, this past week was Valentine's Day, right? And so we're gonna go into a special episode regarding, something along those topics. So yeah, I think Jamar spent a lot of time preparing this one. So all you, brother, go.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think we can start off easy to what today's February 18th, and so 5 days ago was Valentine's Day, also known as this year Ash Wednesday. Ash Wednesday. And so
it fell on Ash Wednesday.
Yeah, it fell on Ash Wednesday. So I guess we can all talk about our past Valentine's Day experience.
I had a great Ash Wednesday. I felt very even as a Muslim, I felt very spiritually connected on Ash Wednesday.
Why?
No, I mean, I just you just felt it in the air,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what about the actual Valentine's Day? Or night?
Wait, what did you do?
On Valentine's Day?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm nothing. I mean, I'm very single, so nothing at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Just stay at home?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I was in LA, on campus, just studying. That's it. Yeah.
By yourself or with another person?
No, by myself.
You feel lonely a little bit?
Huh? I mean, no, I'm a strong, independent man. I don't need it.
We love that.
Yeah, I don't need it. Yeah. What did you do on Valentine's Day?
I was with the house. I was with a couple friends. I was with people here. Alex, Vid, some people weren't there. And so, we just got jjajangmyeon, Korean black bean noodles. And that's essentially all. Oh, and we just watched TV. So pretty simple. But I mean, it was fun.
On Netflix?
On Netflix,
And then y'all chilled afterwards? Or what's going on here?
You're crazy, dude. This is like an action-packed Sadad episode.
No, I mean, we just came back, watched some Black Mirror. It was fun. So pretty chill Valentine's Day for me.
Yeah, what about you? What you do?
I did the same thing as Daniel.
Oh, okay.
Koreans eat jjajangmyeon, black bean noodle,
Mm.
on Valentine's Day because it's black and it represents
Is there? Yeah, I always wondered
the sadness of our hearts.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it stands for?
I think it's something along those lines.
That's interesting.
That's guys, what's wrong with
But
being
we did it
single?
together,
No,
it was a joyous time actually.
No, I
It was a great time.
genuinely look forward to these things.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean,
Our yearly jjajangmyeon.
Yeah, we have a good time.
Yeah, the restaurant we go to is actually called House of Joy.
Yeah.
And it's we're kind of compensating a little bit. It's are we really?
Joy in our singleness.
No.
So wait, all three of you did the same thing?
Yeah, but I left early and I met up with some people from my church, some other guys, and just a little small group time. But
Is what he told us.
You
can't verify that.
No, it was quite literally how I described it.
Yeah, we have no idea what he did in his spare time.
Alex, what did you do?
Oh.
I also eat with them.
Oh,
Right. Yeah. But I think with that in mind, love Valentine's. It's very modern, I guess, to talk about love languages. I know Sadad said you don't know yours, but I feel like it's honestly really easy to self-assess. You just
No, that's not accurate. I think I do know mine, but
sure.
apparently there's a difference between giving and receiving.
Yeah.
And I don't know the exact details of what I like to receive and what I like to give.
Mm.
Or I guess no, I know what I like to receive, but I don't know what I like to give. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think
We'll start there.
Okay, so
we can list all of them.
Yeah.
All five.
here, let me try and then you guys.
Yeah.
So, acts of service, words of affirmation, physical touch, quality time, gift giving. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think what I just named was in order of what I like.
Of what you like to receive?
Yeah. I would say the
Let's go with top three.
Yeah, the three I mentioned, acts of service, words of affirmation, and physical touch. Those are definitely my top three, and it's it's pretty. They're all pretty close to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. I know that we're gonna talk about later. Has your love languages changed over time? So I don't want to go too far ahead. But one thing I've noticed is, in the past I didn't really care about physical touch. It wasn't really a priority for me. I'm
And then your mom hugged you for the first
time.
Yeah, what
My mom is actually very expressive.
Hey, why change that? Please
Yeah,
do
yeah.
dive into.
I don't know. I just
Like,
got
some
it.
experiences
yeah.
change.
What clicked for you?
Who clicked for you?
I don't like this podcast.
I trust you.
No, I think I just became more comfortable with the idea of like people touching me.
Well, you can't be
Show
comfortable,
us
huh?
where they touched you.
Well, you can't be comfortable with the idea without having to experience it first. So yeah, it's
No,
not
no,
not a
okay,
question,
no,
buddy.
but I'm talking about like platonically, like friends.
Platonically.
No, like friends, like just like, yo, how you doing, buddy? You know, like yeah.
Okay, for sure. I won't pry.
No. Wait, I'm not hiding anything. Like,
So I wants us to hug him every time we see him.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
Just a dap, and then
Guy and girl.
Yeah.
If you were to guess, what do you think your receiving would be?
Well, that's a good question. I think it would also be acts of service. No, I think it'd still be the same because, like, I like a good compliment. I like. I need the validation. I need to be told I'm doing a good job.
That's why you only come on the podcast when it's about you. Like every time we have, every time we have guests, you're not here.
Yeah.
But when it's just the four of us and we can give you words of affirmation,
Wait,
totally you're here.
Wait, if there were guests, that's more people to give me words of affirmation.
No, because the attention goes on the guests.
Yeah, you think that.
Oh man.
Yeah. So yeah, I like hearing good things about myself because I think it itches that part of your brain that thinks you have you're not good enough or you have this insecurity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, and maybe it stems from me not being necessarily always confident in myself. We can unpack it later.
Yeah. We'll put that box right here.
Yeah.
Big on unpacking.
Yeah. For me, my giving, if I bring it down to the top three, I'm gonna give act of service, time, and touch.
Mm.
And then within the same three of my receiving, I think it's time, service, and touch. So literally the same thing, but like just switch to them.
Mm.
Yeah.
How do you know that?
How do I know that? Well, I think, okay, like a big reason why I don't think the test is like, not legit. Like, of course I think it's legit, but like, I don't need a test to tell me like, how I feel loved. And, like, what makes me feel most loved or how I...
I feel like once you know what the descriptions are, you should kind of... Most people know what they like.
Yeah. And like, I think for me, just spending time with people is like just awesome. And I think it's where it's just looking back on tendencies and what I try to like pursue within like hanging out with people. It just typically looks like spending time with them, how can I serve them, and it's something similar to you. Like physical touch did climb up slowly.
Yeah, like, are we gonna give Jamar shit for this?
No, I think.
No, because I live with it.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're up to.
What are you talking about? We've known each other for 10 years. What don't you know about me?
Hey, there's been things I've been finding out about you the past 3 years. I'm like, whoa, who
What are
is
you
this guy?
talking about?
We won't pry because we're on camera, but still.
What are you talking about? You're
What-
slandering my name.
Alright, fine. Never mind.
Yeah.
I'm seeing guys, Sadad's a good Muslim man.
Yeah, I'm a good Muslim.
Yes. But I think like as a man, I feel like it's kind of weird to be like think about like how to be affectionate with like physically, and I kind of like steered away that growing up as like high school at least, but in like college and everything, I realized that like and hugs are pretty fire, hugs feel nice.
Fire.
Yeah, like, and I think for me growing up, like my cousins and uncles, like they wouldn't they would kind of like tease me and like mess with me, but like it's very, this would make a lot of sense to some viewers, but they would like shove me, like push me, and like kind of mess around with me, like jostle me around, and I kind of kept that up. Where like to some friends, like I pushed them, I shoved them, I like shake them a little bit. Yeah, it's just
Do you remember
showing love.
like Pujan took a bite of our friend of ours took a bite of your muffin, and you said, and I quote, "Hey motherfucker," and beat the shit. He just wailed on it.
I remember.
Okay, I remember. Yeah,
But lovingly.
yeah, it was lovely.
Lovingly, yeah.
Wait, there was this quote one of my mutual friends, Jamar, said, yeah, Jamar's a great person in about 9.9 scenarios out of 10, but once you mess with his food, he's an actual asshole.
No, yeah, it
Mark
was.
doesn't share food.
No, it was what I think 9th grade. It was a rainy day.
Yeah, it was a rainy
and our
day.
friend group was like out in like the locker room, just waiting. And I went to go use the restroom, and my mom packed me a muffin. And I came back and it's gone. And I see our friend just eating it again. And I got so mad. I like pinned him against the wall.
No. I don't think that. You just like started wailing on it.
No, I pushed him against the wall.
I'm trying to do you a favor.
Why is wailing better than pinning? I think they're like the same.
No, I don't know. Like pinning is more like, damn.
No, this was before I knew Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm a changed man.
I mean, Jesus always there though.
What was your
So yeah, I guess. But like I didn't follow his the doctrine and everything.
Yeah.
I didn't know his love, but yeah, Yoji, what about you? What's your
Shut
Shut up.
What a segue.
Yeah, what a segue.
Alright. Mine, I think receiving and giving are probably similar. I think quality time is pretty up there. Acts of service. And like, I think I show it through like gift giving and acts of service mostly. And then yeah, I do value quality time. My lowest, the one I care the least about, is words of affirmation. And so if I ever give you a compliment, it means like I really care. Because I'm not going to give it to you if I don't really believe in it. Because if you're doing a good job, then you're probably doing it because you should be. So why should you? Why do I need to affirm that? It's just what goes through my head.
Is that how you view being complimented?
Yeah, when I get a compliment, I'm like, okay, I know.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Damn, you don't need the reassurance.
Yeah. Check up.
Yeah.
So not rereads his encouragement once every night.
Yeah. What about you, Daniel?
I think for me, I think if you asked me this question like a year ago, I probably would have given you like a top 3, but I think like I was talking to someone and then they were like kind of saying like, my honest answer is like a combination of all 5, and I was like, you can say that? And I was like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, cause
That sounds like a tap out.
Yeah, that's
Like
what
a
I'm saying.
tap
I always thought it was like a tap out, but I think like my honest answer is a combination of all 5.
For
Both
sure.
ways. And so, like I've always given people like my top 3 or these kind of things, but like just to be honest, it's like when I see like giving, it's definitely just a combination of all 5. I don't think I like particularly do one over the other. I think I just kind of tailor it towards person. I think
He's written by women, bro. He's not like those other guys. He'll do all 5.
No, I mean, I think that's the connotation around like what I'm saying, but I mean, I don't mean it that way. It's just like I just genuinely just kind of tailor it for the person. Like I wouldn't treat you the same I treat Alex or like Gage or Sadad. You know what I mean? So I can't say that I have a singular like trifecta that I like give. So I think it's a combination of all 5. And I think for myself too, it's definitely same in the opposite way, where it's like if Alex gives me a compliment, it weighs much more than like maybe Sadad giving me a compliment or like vice versa, right? And so I think I think that's my honest. It's just a combination of all 5, and I think being loved is always great, and so I wouldn't say I belittle one over the other. Like I'm not saying anyone is belittling one over the other. I'm just saying like I just think that's probably the truest statement I can give you.
No, I belittle.
Okay, sorry. I was trying to save face for you here.
Confirmation.
Okay, I just don't belittle one over the other. I think they're all very valuable to me. So yeah.
I mean, do you think that you have a strength in giving any of those 5?
Is there any that like comes very more naturally to you?
I think probably naturally is probably words of affirmation and acts of service. Probably those 2 are the biggest ones. I think I used to be a big quality time person, which is also like I like giving that a lot too. But I think quality time is completely contingent upon your schedule. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So like it's hard for me to do that sometimes, and so I think it's definitely just like acts of service and like words of aff. But I think for acts of service too, I think the reason why that's probably up there is because I like doing the little things that maybe don't go as noticed, and I think that's how I know I'm like a true acts of service person. You know what I mean? So I think like I'm of the opinion that if you do acts of service just to get like noticed by the person, then like you're not really doing acts of service kind of thing. So yeah, I would say those are probably the 2 that come most naturally.
Okay, so one thing I noticed that all 3 of you value quality time pretty high up there. That's kind of interesting because arguably the thing I value the least is quality time. I would say that or like gift giving.
Yeah, that's why you came late last week.
Dude, it's not me. It's my love. It's my love.
What about quality time does not?
Okay, I'm glad you asked, Yejun. So I guess one, I don't definitively know, but a recent idea I had, and this is kind of messed up. Like, I need help, guys. Maybe it's like the more time I spend with someone, the more chance I have to like mess it up or like something going wrong.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And so like, you know, the more control I have over the time we spend, more chance.
Is that why you flake on me all the time?
No. I mean,
That's a genuine question, by the way. Yeah.
Okay, no. I don't flake on you on purpose. Like, I think the circumstances genuinely.
No, but I think like the question is like, if you were to flake on me, like let's say even if it was on purpose, I'm not saying that in like a negative way.
Yeah. Okay.
It would make sense.
Like, I would never flake on you, but like, would I get cold feet and like make up an excuse to not go to like a social setting? Maybe that's something that sounds.
Yeah,
like
that was kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Wow. Wait, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like the longer you spend time with someone, like as a friendship, the more likely it is for that friendship to be like jeopardized.
Dang. Yeah.
That's an extreme.
Yeah. No. I mean, yeah. Like
In a way.
Yeah.
Like you're afraid of like being exposed somehow.
Yeah. Like I'm afraid
Or
of
like
like.
you're gonna like make some kind of mistake.
Yeah. Like I'm gonna give someone the ick. I don't know.
Oh, we should have celebrated our 10-year anniversary then properly.
Wow.
Yeah, you know what I mean? 'Cause
No. But like but that thought never comes with you guys.
Okay.
It's more so like newer relationships.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like if I know someone for like a couple months, then I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't want to give them the ick. You know.
Wow, we're gonna get into this later. this is gonna take time greatly.
And then the second observation I made was all of us. I mean, Daniel likes everything, but all of us like acts of service. So like, do we want to like maybe talk about why we like acts of service so much?
Yeah. I think for me, I start off like, I think a big thing I connotate or connect acts of service with is like food. I think for me, it's like my mom like always cooked for me, and I always connect like being cooked for and cooking for other people as a way of like serving them, like loving them. And there's this person I was talking to. He's like a culinary like teacher. He like worked in the high end restaurants and everything. And he was talking. He's like, yeah, I've been to so many like Michelin star restaurants, like high end restaurants. Like it's great experience is great, but nothing beats a home cooked meal, which is just so true. And it's just like it's like it always begs the question like why? And it's just because like there's something that is offered in a home cooked meal that money can't buy. And I think that experience, like just serving people in that kind of capacity, it's like awesome. You know,
It's
that
the
homeliness.
thought. It's the effort.
Yeah. And I think like food is like it's just so beautiful, man. It's like we take it we could take it for granted, but like really the idea of like sharing that hospitality and like that moment of like feeding with one another. And if you think of like a primal standpoint, like I don't know if it's lions, but like there's like animals out there who like are very territorial about their prey and like the food that they get. But for us, it's like we share the food that we eat at a table. You know, that's just like
That was fun.
thank you. But it's just I think it's just pretty interesting.
No, I think I agree on that point. Like I think for me, like at least in terms of giving acts of service, like cooking for others is a major one. I just feel like part of it is like even the words of affirmation thing. It's not that I don't really like it. I think definitely it comes from like kind of like the Asian cultural background where
it's not something you're familiar with.
explicit acts of love are very like it's not that it's looked down upon, it's just avoided. But then acts of service are a very easy way to show like silent love in that sense. Like kind of what Daniel was saying, it's like you can do that and then not have to like face the receiving or like the kind of like I don't know, you don't have to explicitly deal with that exchange.
The cut fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cut fruit that comes to the table or you're studying, like that's, you know.
Yeah, I think for acts of service, the reason why it's high up is I think I realize, or I want to like validate people on the effort it takes. Acts of service is not easy. I think like all the love languages are obviously hard to give and receive or whatever, like in their own way. But I think for acts of service, you like literally have to go out of your way to do it. Like I can give you 1,000 compliments. It takes me no effort, right? Gift giving, it's like even for that, I mean
that's monetary. You have to,
yeah, exactly. It's like monetary. It's like
that's a monetary sacrifice.
Sure, but then at the same time, I feel like sadly, you know, a big part of gift giving is also you get one back most of the times. You know what I mean? It's like if I give you a gift on your birthday, automatically you assume one. You're gonna give me one, right? It's like an unspoken rule almost, right?
I mean, not necessarily. Like I have friends who are like I think their love language is gift giving, and yeah, like he just like he sees something, it's like, oh, Sadad would really like that, or Sadad would really appreciate this.
Oh, of course. I mean, I do that too, but I just think that like, I think I'm not saying it like does this intentionally or like or people who give do with the expectation of getting a gift back. It's like an almost societal pressure. If you get it, like for example, if your friend gives you that, then you automatically. I think because of that, I think acts of service is a unique one, where it's like you just gotta do it. You know what I mean? And it takes that extra effort to do, and I think I appreciate that. And so also because like like even for people like I like doing acts of service, but it's not easy. Like it's never easy to like do that kind of stuff, and so I think that's why I value it pretty highly. Yeah, for sure.
I think for me, like, I think I'm a very like practical person. Like even like the clothes I wear, like I value comfort, right?
Yeah.
And so I think how highly I rate acts of service goes sort of hand in hand with the fact that gift giving is so low for me. Like I don't really care. Like I don't want you to get me a gift. That's not practical. But like helping me do a chore, or like you see that I'm very busy with work, so like you take care of this like
email.
Yeah, or like you do the laundry. I don't know, whatever. I think that like that's what I appreciate, and like what Yejin mentioned, I think that was a very good observation. I think it connects to with like Asian culture, like subtly Asian culture kind of pushes that acts of service is culturally how we show love. It's like like helping someone out practically. Yeah, and making the sacrifice, which Daniel said.
Yeah, I think this ties in well into the next idea. It's like what we have next is. Nate, what is a time where you felt really loved by someone, whether like romantically or platonically? Because like kind of what you're saying, something for me, I think that there's like two categories that this can fall into. Whether it felt like really like flattering, that like something really nice, or it was like really thoughtful. For my example, or my own experience, I remember I was talking to a friend, and I was like, oh man, like I really want to get into cologne. Like I think cologne has always been something I never really explored into because I feel like it's expensive and I don't know what kind of scent would work on me, blah, blah, blah. And then the week after, this person like buys me cologne. And I was like super like...
So gift giving.
I think it's interesting because it's like, I think it doesn't happen often, so it's like a little bit more special.
Actually, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, and I think kind of what Daniel was saying too, like in terms of all five kind of meshing together, it kind of does depend on like how your relationship with the person.
Mm-hmm.
And for her, like here's that from me, and then they were like, oh, I'm going to like I see this cologne. I think Jemar will like it or smoke it in or whatever. Like I'm gonna buy this for him. And I don't know. It was like super shocking. I think just the novelty of it was very. It wasn't flattered. It was just I just felt like oh yeah, like this is very nice. You know.
Sorry, intrusive thought.
Yeah.
Completely off topic.
Sure.
How can a cologne fit on a person? Like, does a person have a specific scent?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like how? But what determines that?
Your pheromones, right?
Yeah, your pheromones.
For sure, but let's just say there's a Calvin. Oh, can I even say that? Like there's this brand cologne, right? Oh, there's a.
We're not on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Whatever
There's a cologne.
Calvin Klein's gonna sue us.
Yeah. Okay.
Trademark.
Anyways, the point being, like, there's a cologne, right? And then there's like 4 people in a room, and like I get the whole pheromone thing, but it's like, you smell good if you smell good at the end of the day. And so it's like,
Sure.
I mean, no.
Yeah, but that cologne has a different like impact on you.
Of course, yeah. So is it the person who gets affected by the cologne, or is it the cologne or is it the person that affects the cologne?
I think the cologne reacts with people differently,
Yeah.
and like the person smelling also reacts
Especially
differently
people
with it.
smelling, but I feel like different people have different like. I don't want to use the word aura because it sounds like
it's
very
like aura,
like
yeah.
you know like
Yeah.
new age or whatever. But I feel like different people have different auras and like different the type of cologne you wear should reflect your aura if you want it to be like.
But I feel like aura
Effective.
can change. You can change your aura. Like for example, if I come out in a social setting and I'm super duper talkative, right, and I'm like yapping my head off, I have an aura, and then I go to another event, I'm just very calm, composed.
You can change how you like present yourself, but I think there is a natural
like what your personality.
natural just thing that like fragrance that seeps off of you naturally as a person, and like I think especially for like if we're talking like male and females, like when women like smell another guy, like I think there is like a level of like maybe expectation of like what fits with that person, And so if there's a clash in that, then like it could not be as attractive as if compared to like when you have a cologne that like actually matches your personality.
But I feel like maybe this is unfair. It's fine. Screw on. But last point. I just feel like, let's say Sadad comes out in an event wearing a suit, right? There's obviously a scent that matches that event,
Mhm.
and then he comes over to our house. Does he wear the same scent? Probably not, right? And so it's like so many things dictate your aura, or so many things dictate that. So how
No,
could there be a specific scent per person?
Okay, no, yeah, but like just chemically, I mean, I don't know the science behind it, but like each person like has a different chemical makeup. Like they
Sure,
excrete different scents.
But not everyone just is like, oh, my chemical makeup is this. I'm gonna fit this cologne.
Oh yeah.
So how could you have a specific scent towards your chemical makeup? People, there's a generic brand or a scent that people put out. So you're saying people's chemical makeups, there has to be
No, but the
millions that
cologne-
use the same one.
No, but the cologne reacts with you differently.
It's still a scent that they produce.
Yeah, but then even that scent itself will react differently per person depending on like the pheromones that they give off.
No, I
okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Like
Yeah.
if we both wore
If
like
all four of us wore the same exact
Sauvage
cologne,
Dior,
Yeah.
it would slightly smell different.
Of course it would,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But you're saying that all four of our auras are Sauvage Dior. Like,
No.
No. I'm just
So the point is
yeah.
like because it's gonna react differently for all four of us, the goal is to find the one that suits you best.
but they're mass produced, so it has to be.
No, it's like baking, right? Like all baking uses flour, water, and like yeast.
Yeah.
But like depending on like how you set that up, the product is completely different. So even if the cologne itself is mass produced, knowing that like each person is going to have a different reaction to that cologne, like your goal as a person, if you really care about that stuff, is to then find a cologne that reacts with you the best, where like it comes off the most attractive for you.
like the
And
cologne.
so like the
sorry.
search for the cologne is like
Sorry, I don't know how to this topic.
The cologne is water, and we all have different shaped bases. So when you pour the water, the generic water.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, Steve.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
He was talking about his cologne story with his friend.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was basically it. Like, yeah, it was very suited for my situation.
Mhm.
I think what made it best was like it was very thoughtful.
So something I can think of was I had like this interview, and I like don't have a dress shirt. Like I don't know. Yeah, I don't have a dress shirt. And so like I texted like the group chat like with my friends like, hey, does anyone have like a dress shirt I could borrow? And then like my friend without any question like sent me a picture of like a dress shirt on his shoulder, like walk into a class right now with a dress shirt. And mind you, he has class like 5 minutes after, like within my interview time. So he has to like sprint to class, give it to me, and then sprint to his class, which is like a sacrifice that this person made. And I really thought that was very nice of him. And then like something like Daniel has helped me with like homework, for example. I think in the previous podcast we talked about how he helped me
Do some other things.
inspect elements. Hypothetically, yeah. I really appreciated that, Daniel. I think that's a very that required a lot of love.
Glad I contribute to your hypothetical.
Yeah.
Dishonesty. Yeah.
And then something I really appreciate what Jemar does is like sometimes he ends the phone like a phone call we have together with "Love you, man," and then I think that scratches my like words of affirmation itch. Like
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. What about you guys?
well, when you asked the question, just one moment that came to mind, and maybe this is gonna like even change what my like top love language is I remember in high school, like I was in a group setting and like a friend was like, I noticed you never like hug people. And then they're like, you need to hug more people because like hugging people makes you feel better. Something like that, right? They gave some kind of spiel about like the importance of hugs, and then they proceeded to give me a hug. And I remember that like I was like, oh, that is nice. And like I think I remember that being like a very like good moment. And so yeah, maybe physical touch is a lot higher than I think about. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, two occasions come up. I think one of them this is more general, but I think I feel the most love when people want to sit down and talk things through, because I think we live in a world where there's just so much information out there about each other, about everything, and so for someone to sit down and talk things through with you, it requires a lot of effort. You know what I mean? For example, like if there's a miscommunication, or if there's like maybe it's just something hasn't been addressed properly, or these kind of things. Instead of just like running off with their own conclusions, if they kind of sit down and talk things through, I think that's a huge display of love in my opinion, because that means you care about the relationship, right? That means you care enough to actually, work things through with that person. So I think that's one. The other thing is like I think is like parental love. I think growing up as an Asian American, you kind of typically associate. I think the biggest thing is you associate Western standards of love to an Eastern culture, right? And so there's a lot of misunderstanding that happens between, the kid and the parent. I think the moment that I've realized was like, I kind of sat down and I was like, I think at this point, like I'm not mature yet, because we're still growing. Like I don't think I'll ever say that I'm mature, but I think the more that I am kind of growing and maturing, I like kind of realized like, hey, wow, my mom gave up her entire life in Korea to come here, and then to be honest with you, like I think when we think about kids, like if you just pull a kid that's like 3-4 years old out from the American system and plop them into Korea, honestly nothing really changes. Like to be like they'll adjust, most likely they're not, right? I'm sure there's like trauma that comes from like getting plucked from those situations, but at a certain age, it's like as long as you have a good support system around you and you have ample enough time and opportunity to adjust, they often do adjust.
Mm-hmm.
My parents refused to do that. You know what I mean? It's like they were loving enough to like actually listen to what 5-year-old me was saying about not wanting to move, and like giving up their dreams and desires to stay in the States and like learn a new language, find a job market in a place where it's impossible to do so. They grew up in the early 2000s where like racism was probably more prevalent in the workplace in these areas, and like they had to go through all that just so I could be happy and living in America. You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of what's the two biggest things for me. I think when I think about like loving actions. Yeah.
Wait, so in an alternate world, you could have grown up in Korea?
Hey, in an alternate, so this is a good question. So I asked my mom this. I was like, in an alternate world, what would me and Joseph be doing, right?
Having like crippling like video game addiction, which you already done.
No, my dad told me he hates the Korean education system, so he would have put us in either like music or the fine, like anything not education. So like the K-pop industry, like the classical music industry, the movie industry, like anything but education. And so like, oh, that's so
Anyone
interesting.
has seen Penthouse, the classical music industry.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but they didn't really like the entire Korean education system, so they're like, yeah, probably like maybe the finer arts. I was like, oh, interesting.
I can imagine Joseph as a K-pop star. Like I don't know why, but I was like,
I can imagine Daniel as K-pop star.
Dude, he's a K-pop or like a Korean rapper.
G-Dragon.
D-Dragon.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. In an alternate universe, I'd be doing something else. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting. I mean, I don't know, but if how it was for everyone else, but I know like Yeji and I were saying like the moment we felt really most love wasn't really within our top 3 or not, at least our not top 1. And I think what it really applies to is like, I'm so excited to talk about this, but like our attachment styles, like ways that we kind of felt lacking in love growing up. And yeah, I think just to
tell us what is an attachment style?
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited for this because I've been taking psychology for 5 years now. I'm about to have some knowledge that not many, orthodox psychology majors
Note
have.
this line right here.
On our script, guys, it says Jemar dropped heat about attachment styles, and this script was written by Jemar.
Yes. But let me preface.
Drop the heat.
I still don't have my degree. I don't even have a master's in psychology. So
It's mostly YouTube videos.
Yeah. But I mean, how else would these actual psych majors get there?
John Green.
John Green, YouTube, WebMD. Anyways, just want to preface that. But I think just to front us on attachment styles, the original experiment is actually with babies, right? So these babies come into a room with their primary caregiver, typically their mother. And in this room, the mothers and the babies are together. And after a while, the mother leaves. Every time the baby cries. And that doesn't determine whether they're anxious or avoidant or secure. The baby should cry, just depends on how the baby responds after like the session of crying. Secure attachment style should look like the baby crying and then finally like building up some self strength, some self-reliance, and then they find themselves steady. The mother comes back, and the baby, same thing like I said, an anxious attachment style. Once the mother comes back, the baby is very clingy to the mother. The baby may not even stop crying. And then with the avoidant, when the mother comes back, the baby might seem even a little distant to the mother or to the caregiver. And so if you take those concepts, they expanded the experiment by taking the same baby after that scenario into a playroom where there's toys and even another baby. Secure attachment style, they leave their mother to go play with the toys or even play with the other baby. Very fine, nothing distracting or seems insecure. It's a baby, but like it seems like a little wrong. Anxious can't leave the mother. They have to explore the world or explore the toys and the baby with the mother next to them. And avoidant is just completely independent. They may not even play with the baby. They might not even return back to their mother at any point. And so kind of this idea of attachment style is like, depending on how you're raised by your primary caregiver, whether they're emotionally or physically apparent or attentive towards your lifestyle, I guess shapes how you want to explore the world, how you treat future friendships, how you treat future relationships, and even how you view yourself. If you ever think of it like on a graph, like the y-axis being trusting others, and the high point like trusting others well, bottom point trusting others very lowly, and the x-axis being on the right side trusting others a lot, and the left side being trusting others very little. Anxious attachment style would look like trusting yourself very little, but trusting others a lot. Secure would look like trusting both obviously well, and then avoidant would be trusting yourself much, but not trusting others much.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I think about also attachment styles that I don't think many people know is like majority of people are not secure attachment style. Many people, or most people, are within like that range of not having a secure attachment style, whether anxious, avoidant, and the third being anxious, avoidant, like not trusting others and yourself, and so boundaries are very
Holy shit.
yeah. So boundaries are very difficult within itself. But yeah, I think just like that as a fundamental.
You're just fucked, bro.
Like that as a fundamental ground point. Yeah, just the way I guess I illustrated like anxious and avoidant. How would you guys like say what you are? Because yeah, I mean I guess I can paint it a little more. Like anxious looks like clingy. Like you can't really trust if someone really likes you. Like if someone's late, you kind of doubt your self-worth. Like like this person not coming out to see me or whatever because like I'm X, Y, and Z. Kind of like that insecurities in that way. And avoidant is like, oh, am I insecure about this relationship because like or actually, it's more like, oh, I don't want to open up to this person because I'm scared about like, oh, like, can I really trust this person? Is this person really gonna be worth my time? If I open up to this person, will they use what they know to backstab me? Those kind of things. So yeah, how would you guys address that attachment style for yourself?
Well, okay, so I've like those online tests.
Yeah.
I've taken it, and like each time I get something different. I either get secure, like sometimes I get secure.
Even that one quartile that you just talked about.
Q3.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get secure, sometimes I get avoidant, and sometimes I get what is it? What was the other one?
The last one's called like disorganized or like anxious avoidant.
No. Like sometimes I get anxious, and sometimes I get avoidant, and sometimes I get secure.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So
I have no idea.
I have no idea.
I'm screwed.
I'm fine. No, so I mean, this all stems from like how your parents like treated you.
It comes from parents, primary caregiver, and other significant relationships that you build through your life. So your parent, your mom or your dad, can give you a
also like from my understanding, like you can have for example, an anxious relationship with your mom, an avoidant with your dad, and then a secure with your significant other. Like different relationships can have different attachment styles, right? Or no?
That has to be true.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just making sure.
Yeah. I don't have the degree yet.
No, so I'll say like, I mean, I'm incredibly grateful. I think my parents did an amazing job. being there for me. Like, I'll always say like, I think there's this stereotype that like Asian parents don't show affection to their children, and for me, like that's far from the case. Like, my parents frequently tell me like they love me, and and like my mom sacrificed like working when I was like very young to like be there for me, like be a stay-at-home mom while I was growing up, and then eventually like she went back to work. So in that sense, like I think I am like secure in that sense, but then also like being insecure, like do they really love me? Like I get that a lot for sure. Like if something's off, even for like a relationship that I should have like built already, if like I feel like, oh, the energy's off, or I didn't get like the same amount of like attention or like energy, I'm like, oh shoot, I'm already in my head like, yo, is everything all right? Like, are we having a moment right now? So I'm always in my head about that. So in that way, maybe I'm anxious. But on the other hand, I think I'm also avoidant in the sense that like I don't necessarily tell people what like everything about my life.
For sure.
Like, I don't think a single person knows like every aspect of my life. Maybe like one friend knows this aspect of my life, another friend knows that aspect of my life. But in general, like I don't like talking about myself.
Right.
I would much rather hear about.
What are you
someone
not
else.
telling us?
That's the real topic. What did you do on Valentine's Day?
What are you hiding?
Yeah, we were missing our "We're Not Really Strangers" pack on Valentine's Day.
So the real reason I missed the last podcast.
Yeah, I saw your location at Huntington Beach. That was it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, thanks for being honest with us, because I think attachment style is actually really hard to gauge because, like you said, like all these intertwining relationships. We'll get into that a little bit later, but it's kind of difficult to gauge. I feel like, especially over time as you get older. For me growing up, I grew up with a pretty difficult, like anxious attachment style. Like I remember I had this one friend in like middle school, and we were talking like once this person became like really close friends to other people, I would kind of get jealous, like which is kind of weird. But now I think I've entered in a similar way with what you were saying. It's like I also developed less of an anxious style, leaning more towards secure, but then also falling into avoidant. I think at the end of the day, these attachment styles is just awareness of boundaries and knowing like the right time and what to say and when to say certain things. With that being said, like there's good times to talk about like things you're struggling with the right people, and times when to not and say better things with like not the wrong people or with the wrong people, you know. And so I think for me, it's like sometimes I get a little scared to like open up with people. Like how like, oh, am I burdening them? Am I like worth their time? And I think oddly enough, kind of what Daniel was saying earlier with like the whole idea of like gift giving. When you give someone a gift, you kind of expect something back. And so I feel like when you're, at least kind of in my head, when you vent or at least rant to someone, like you kind of need like it to be like you need it to be even field. You can't just always rant at someone. You kind of need to be available for them to like be there for them as well.
What if they have nothing to rant about?
See, that's what I'm thinking too. It's just like that's why I think that's what makes me want to be more hesitant about opening up too.
Because it's like I'm being vulnerable. Like, are you gonna use this information against me?
Right.
Oh my gosh!
No.
What? Dude, that was crazy.
Like it's like Jemar said, am I burdening you? And two, it's like, are you
That's his genuine concern.
like
No, I know. I'm saying like there was a genuine like, oh my gosh.
or does this person like? This person's not being vulnerable with me. Like maybe this person doesn't think we have that
So does that-
relationship.
But I feel like sorry, you.
I mean, when Sadad was like explaining like his like attachment style, like a big question that came to mind is like, do you feel like love is conditional?
Yeah. That's a good question. So I mean, no. I think my parents give me unconditional love, and I think like you're capable of loving someone for who they are. Like they're not perfect, but you still love them just for the way they are. On the other hand, and then I think that society expects, I think both men and women, but like as a man, like I can only speak about from my perspective. Like if a man is not like providing providing to someone, like you don't have a use. Like I think the society expects men to like provide for the children, provide for their significant other, and if you're not doing that, then society judges you as a failure. So
do you feel that same pressure with your parents though?
yeah, definitely, because I'm an only child, and so I think the pressure of like achieving the American dream falls onto me. Because I mean Daniel alluded to it too earlier about like how his parents sacrificed like a life in Korea to live here, and so I mean all of our parents did the same thing. Like they sacrificed everything they knew, their friends, their family, to come to this country. And if their child doesn't become a successful individual after that sacrifice, like it really, like the question remains, like what did I do all this for? And I think my parents had a lot of hopes and dreams, and they lived through me to achieve those dreams. Like from a very early age, my mom always like, there's only one option for me to become, and that's a doctor. And I think it's because my mom always wanted to become a doctor, and she was never able to. And I think that like.
But you're not going in that direction anymore.
Yeah.
Or at all.
Yeah. And
what
so
does that do with your relationship?
Okay,
with
so
mom?
just as my mom always, from like the moment of my like conception, said I have to be a doctor. From that moment, I knew I didn't want to be a doctor because like I always felt like it wasn't fair that my mom pushed this like thing onto me, like without ever like wondering, oh, like Sadad, what do you want to do? And it's like, I mean, like I don't necessarily have a passion for medicine. I think it's very interesting, and I have a lot of respect for doctors and those like people who go into medicine. But like, you never asked me what I would like. You chose my destiny for me. It's my destiny, and so I always held that like I don't want to. Yeah, like it was resentment, and so like just to like sometimes it felt out of spite. Like no, I know I'm not going to be a doctor.
Right.
Like yeah, I'll be successful, but not as a doctor. Yeah. So yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So, do you feel like then part of your drive comes with like needing to prove that you can still have success, not being a doctor?
Hell yeah. Yeah. No, because yeah, but it's also like I don't want my mom to be like if she's right, then I failed her too. Because then like. At the end of the day, like yes, my mom wants me to become a doctor. At the end of the day, it's because, like, especially coming from a third world country, that's what she knows as a stable profession. Like means.
Does she still have that hope for you?
No,
I you'll have like a Patch Adams moment, and
no,
at the age of 40, you're gonna be like, wait a minute though, like, doctor.
No,
a good idea.
Actually, like, I mean, credit to my mom. Like, I think she's like come around to the idea of like, no, he's not gonna be a doctor. And I've always said lawyer, and I think my mom's like really like cool with like me becoming a lawyer.
As long as it's an ER.
ER.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lawyer,
Yeah,
doctor. Oh, I guess that's OR, but yeah, engineer.
Engineer.
Yeah.
I mean, I've taken those tests too. I got secure. I think it's true. Yeah, I mean, my mom was stay-at-home mom. She was always there. And then, like, my dad being a pastor, I was always with him in some capacity. So I don't think I ever felt, like, any kind of, like, distance or, like, non-attachment from my parents. So, in that sense, like, I know that, like, yeah, I don't feel anxious. I don't remember ever feeling anxious when they were not present, because I knew they would be at some point, I guess. So, yeah.
I think like my question to you is like, because your parents were always there, did you felt like, oh, I have too much attention on me, like they're too overprotective?
Oh no, because my family style is very like we have a family of 5. I have 2 siblings, a younger sister and younger brother, so it's 5 of us. All of us are very involved in our own interests. So our family doesn't do a lot of like together family stuff where we're doing things together like activity wise, but we're always together like physically. Like we're always together but all doing our own things. So yeah, like I've never felt an expectation that we need to do something together or like we need to have like family game night or like things like that. Like that never existed, and so yeah. Probably your original question was all.
No, I mean, yeah. you answered it.
Yeah, I think for I think for me it's a weird question. I don't know what studies say about this because I'm not I'm not gonna look this up, but I feel like for me I have a natural disposition attachment style. To be honest with you, the reason why I say that is because my mom always tells me this story when I was one. We lived in an apartment back in Washington D.C. And then she went outside to get something from the car, but she forgot the keys, and so the house was locked. And then so it was just 1-year-old me in the house, like through the looking glass, you can see it, like the side doors thing, and then she's like freaking out because I'm like, I think I was barely one, I was like one or whatever, like I was very early stage. She's freaking out because there's no spare key. My dad was on a road trip, like there was just no way to get to the house. And I feel like in a lot of occasions, I feel like a lot of babies do see their parents panic and then they react by crying or whatever thing, or any of these things. My mom said, and then it took her 6 hours to get the key. She said I just sat there for 6 hours. Not a single tear was shed. Like it was just like, okay. Like, and then when she walked in, she's like, oh, what's up? So it's like, so I think like my mom would always tell me the story. Cause I think she told me because she was telling me like I wasn't that hard to raise growing up. And I think there's a lot of these stories where it's just like, yeah, we just love you, it was fine. And like these kind of things. And so I think like maybe there is a natural disposition of an attachment style. Because I think like in that scenario, that wasn't like my mom raising me or like low or anything. I was too young at that point to really understand anything. It was just like,
I think that's the definition of security.
yeah. So so I think as I grew up or even till now, like I think I've had waves where like I try to fit the bill of another attachment style because whether I was in a relationship or my friendships. Because to be honest with you, I think a secure attachment style has a very positive connotation.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is, it actually doesn't mesh with everything. A secure attachment style, would, like from my experience, like many experiences, doesn't really mesh well with an anxious attachment style. Like they just clash like severely, right? And so I would have friends or relationships that were more anxious attachment styles, and for me, I was a total like D-bag. You know what I mean? It's like because I was like, why don't you care about me? Like why don't you love me? Because I'm just like yeah, like let's just do your thing or whatever. And so I think I've always been secure. But I think I've tried to fit the mold of other people's, like other attachment styles because I wanted them to feel better or these kind of things. But I think I've always just been, like naturally just been a very secure attachment style person. And so I think even till now, it's like, I don't really have like that kind of like, maybe those, like the fear of like, maybe they will like me if I say this. Like, to be honest with you, like, I don't know if this might come off the wrong way, but just like, if I act a certain way, but if they don't like that, then like, it's either like, I adjust to them if I really care about that. If not, like I'm just living my own lane kind of thing, right? And so that's not to say I'm like, oh, I'm so mature, or like I'm just like, above. That's just my genuine disposition. You know what I mean? So, and like, does that mean I don't get insecurities? Of course, no. Of course I get insecurities, right? Of course I have like performance, like I want to perform, or I think I'll be more loved if I perform better, right? Mm-hmm. But at the root of it, is that really my attachment style? No, not really. I think I'm just naturally a very secure attachment style person, and again, I want to reiterate, like, that's not always a positive thing. It clashes a lot with a lot of people, and so, I do want to get away from that. But I think going a little deeper, I think I truly understand this as my attachment style, because I think, like, when I think about my, like, relationship with, like, God, it's the same thing. Like, I don't think I have, like, oh, if I read my Bible 10 times and I do my devotionals, I'm going to be closer to God. Like, not really. It's just, like, He's there, I'm here, he tells me that He loves me, and I love Him. All right, that's all I need, kind of thing. So it's, like, I think it's just like, I don't know how much research is out there about that, but I think I'm just a very secure attachment style person in general. And so, yeah.
I think two things. Yeah, like, think about attachment styles, like, attachment style theory. There's, like, so many scholars out there who are very intelligent in this field and who will disagree and, like, claim a lot of, like, I guess, like, inconsistencies or, like, bad things, or not bad things, troubles with attachment style. And another thing, I think naturally with secure attached style with other attached styles. The only way, or not the only way, but one of the best ways for people to get out of anxious and out of avoidant attached styles is to be with secure attached styles. People with secure attached styles. However, it's like a very like push and pull, like you were saying. Like there's like that tension, that friction that happens, where they can also pull you into that kind of thing, where it's kind of become very like toxic.
No, for sure. I think that was my experience for sure, but. I think the reason why I kind of say that is because I think what I'm trying to avoid essentially is like I think there's this like superiority complex almost for people who have maybe a secure attachment style.
Yeah.
I don't believe that to be true. Okay, if you have an anxious attachment style, that's just who you are. that's like, just because I'm a secure attachment style and you're an anxious doesn't mean you need to conform to the way that my attachment style is, right? Some people have an anxious attachment style that mesh very well with other anxious attachment styles, right? And that works for them, right? And so I want to push against the notion that a certain attachment style means you are superior emotionally than another person. I think people are just made to be the way they are. Certain people who are attachment or anxious or avoidant may never become secure. Does that mean they're less emotionally mature or less emotionally capable than a secure person? No. You know what I mean? And so I think that's why I like kind of reiterated like, yeah, I am a secure attachment style person, but I don't mesh with like anxious sometimes. Does that mean the anxious person should strive to be more like me? No. That they're fine the way they are. And I'm sure they're meshed with other people. So I think that's kind of what I'm getting to the root of essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Do you agree with that?
I think I feel like everyone has space to grow, which I don't think you would disagree with either.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, I think it's just in terms of like anxious and avoidant people, like some people are just can be in healthier positions. Like I said before, like I don't think you disagree with that, but there are ways for people to grow with like boundaries and expectations of other people, and yeah, people may be like delusional and kind of because of their upbringing have a different sense of how they want to be treated and unconscious of how they should be treated. I was talking about this like a while ago, but like a lot of reasons why we see like why girls are so attracted to guys who treat them like trash. He's like, it's like,
damn. Wait,
this is
I
mean, like, I think everyone listening, everyone here knows exactly what like we can think of many situations like that where girls keep going back to a guy that treats her like trash, and it's like, why? And it's just like trying to allude to this. It's like
also like it goes all the way.
It goes both ways.
Oh,
exactly.
for sure,
Yeah,
for sure. But I think typically, especially in media and stuff, we kind of see that kind of trope. A lot of it is kind of because like they grew up with like fathers who didn't really like daddy issues. You know, it's funny. It's like we see them grow up with
clip that.
we see them with figures who like don't treat them as they should be loved. It's very conditional, very like out of place. And so once they get paired with a guy who does treat them similarly,
it's the only thing they know.
Yeah, it's like the only thing they know. It's like the love, like, oh, I deserve this.
And what kind of attachment style does that like fall under?
That would probably be anxious, and the guy would probably be avoidant. That's kind of what we see often, that kind of trope.
Yeah,
and, like,
so
that's also the most like toxic trope.
I was gonna ask you like, so do anxious and like what combination of people like work together? Because Daniel said like, I don't think anyone is like.
Well, I mean, yeah,
superior.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
like,
So I think, for example, it's like I think a very practical example is as a secure attachment style person, like I don't really see like I would do it if like my significant other would ask me to do it, but for me to be like tell them that I love them every second of every moment, every day, yeah, I don't really see the need to because I'm like for me it's like I'm in a relationship with you. Doesn't that mean that I love you enough, right? But I know for a fact, and I'm not saying these people like this is what I'm saying, right? They're not wrong. Some people need to hear that for like a portion of their lives, and I'm not saying that they're wrong in any capacity, right? We're just different. And so like to that person who needs to hear that continuously, yeah, I might seem like cold, right? You know, detached or any of these kind of things, and we might not mesh in that regard. Or I might see that person as like overbearing or like these kind of things, right? And so again, does that mean that I am a better person than that person, or am I more emotionally capable? No. Some people just need to hear those words of affirmation.
I don't know if it's necessarily about like being better than someone else. I do feel like there is a level of like gauging a person's mental health. And that can be different. Like a secure person will likely have a much better mental health than a person who has like avoidant, fearful like attachment styles, right? Like there is going to be a difference in mental health, and like I do think like these kind of like paradigms exist so that people can understand where they are and how they can like get to a more secure place, because like literally the words that are being used is like secure, anxious, avoidant, like fearful. Like nobody wants to be in a state of anxiety or fear.
Yeah.
Like the goal of like a human being just like on a primal level is to be secure, right? And so I do think it's important for people to know what their attachment style is and like work towards like getting rid of the things that are causing them to suffer in their mental health. So like it's not about like being better or anything like that. Like there's no like value difference of a human depending on their like attachment style, but I do feel like if you know that you are not a secure attachment style, there should be ways for you to pursue that so that you can have an overall better like mental health.
For sure, I agree with that. I just think that maybe like the only thing that I would actually no, I agree with most of that. I think the only thing is just like, just because I'm secure attachment style doesn't mean I have my own share of mental issues or like my own share of problems that I go through. So I think it's just I just think humans are made the way they are. Like, can we all strive to be better? Yeah, absolutely. But I think just the overarching message is like I don't think that I am like emotionally healthy
Right.
or these kind of things. And so
I don't know. I slightly disagree with you, Daniel. Like,
no, it's fine. Yeah.
because like, okay, I think one point you made that's very important is like we shouldn't demean people who are anxious and avoidant, because at the end of the day, it's not their fault. Like, it stems from a deeper reason. But I do think like the goal should be to become more secure. Yeah, because like being a like very attached or very avoidant does have detrimental impacts on your
So
life.
would you say that you are striving to be like more like Yaju, to be more secure? Like is that how you're viewing things then, essentially?
Well, one, like, I think I am for the most part pretty secure.
Okay.
And I have like instances where I am anxious or instances where I'm avoidant. And I also think it's a spectrum. Like maybe being a little anxious or a little avoidant is not necessarily bad.
Yeah.
It's when it becomes like detrimental to your life. It's when it leads you to make like poor life decisions.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like these girls that go back to these toxic.
I don't want to say it.
No, that's true. I agree with that. I just think that like what I'm saying is just like I just think the topic is about love or attachment style
Right.
or whatever. I just think people should be loved the way they are, essentially. Like
Yeah.
they shouldn't be like I think the most toxic thing in a relationship is like, hey, you're so anxious, you need to get better.
Yeah.
Like,
and
yeah.
that I 100% agree. Yeah. Like
Oh,
the last thing we should do is like look down. Yeah. Shame people. Yeah.
I think something really interesting. I think Daniel kind of like sheds a little bit of light in this is like there's a whole aspect of like culture that is so important in what's it called?
Attachment style.
Wow, greatest brain part of my life. There's so much culture implemented within attachment styles, at least for for us Asian Americans, but typically in terms of like modern psychology and everything, a lot of it's developed by like Western ideals, Western culture, Western like white men, and so I think I don't really have much content that can really back up with this question. It's like, but how do you think your culture growing up, your household culture, your underlying culture has affected your attachment style? Because if you kind of break it down a little bit for the attachment style theory, secure attachment style is being like catered to, kind of like giving those opportunities to explore the world and like kind of like giving a pat on the back like when things fall and being there available as a primary caregiver. But if we look at like more like collectivist societies, there's that phrase like it takes a village to raise a child. A lot of family members come in to help raise a child, and you're kind of more thrown in. More thrown into society, like with family friends and having them help raise you. There's like no primary caregiver. It's just kind of more free and open-ended. So I guess how do you think your culture has, especially for you guys as PKs, like your primary caregiver is almost like the church almost. So how do you think your culture has like affected the way you've your attachment style, I guess, or I guess your boundaries with people and how you treat being more distant or very close to people?
Yeah, I mean, I can go first. I think I don't know what the studies show out there, but I just think it's like a natural disposition thing for me. I think if you look at the way my parents raised me, which I love the way they did, but I don't think it fosters exactly a secure attachment style. They were very performance based. Like I know why now, and I appreciate them for it. But back then, it's like, oh yeah, like for sure, my worth was in my A, or my worth was in these kind of things. I remember like one thing my parents said to me was like, I remember I like loved playing basketball growing up, and they kind of told me like, hey, if you're not gonna make varsity, like why would you even play this thing? Like, you know what I mean? It's like that's such a waste of your time. You might as well like reach the top. And they were like, so I think like if you really look at the way they raised me, Well, even for like when I was playing the cello or these kind of things, like there's this thing called CMs, which is like the test. But yeah, you better reach 10, or you just might not just do it. Like that's kind of the messages I was always given. Like strive to be excellent, or just don't like settle for anything else. But here I am. You know what I mean? So I just think I do think it's a maybe, but then again, I'm weird. Like I you know what I mean? Like I'm not exactly.
Neurotypical.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think maybe I might be an anomaly. Maybe I'm not sure, but again, there might be studies out there. But I just think that either I'm very weird, which is very valid, or I just had a natural maybe disposition towards like this attachment style. So yeah.
Do you know anything about that? Does temperament affect your attachment style?
Because yeah, I feel like in my case, there's so much evidence just points to it. You know what I mean? So again, it's either I'm weird or there has to be some sort of studies for this. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's nothing I'm aware of, but I feel like that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You know, with what you're saying.
Like a natural attachment style.
Yeah,
maybe.
a little disposition towards something certain.
Yeah.
There might be like a nature versus nurture. So.
Yeah, there probably is. I feel like naturally every person has like a different capacity of being loved. Like two children, or two siblings, can have like different capacities, like what it looks like to be fully loved, and give them what maximum attention looks like for them. Yeah, I think that
I
was
wish I
that.
had twins actually.
Oh yeah, we should have.
They would have
the
been a
twins.
great,
Yeah, a little
great
test.
little experiment on like
Yeah,
because
just call Joseph over.
there's no way for them to have been like raised that differently,
For sure.
right? Like the treatment would have been very similar, but they might have like different attachment styles. Whereas like I feel like siblings, it can be different, right? Like parents when they have their first child can be like super like helicoptery
Yeah.
and like all over them and like there all the time, and that might like create a certain type of attachment style. And then on the second kid, they're like, oh, the first one was fine. Like you actually don't need to like work that hard.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, like the parenting style, like I know from my siblings, the parenting style changed with each kid.
Like exponentially.
Yeah, like exponentially changed, and like the way I was raised was not the way that my brother was raised,
Yeah.
who was 7 years younger than I am. And I do feel like the way that he was raised and how that was different affected his overall outcome today. Like if he was raised the way I was raised, I really do feel like he would be a different person.
Yeah, so I feel like there has to be a natural.
Regardless of his like temperament.
Yes.
Right, like
There-
there is part of his like temperament, but also like the nurture part of it, of how he was raised differently than how I was, like affected his like outcome today.
Yeah, I mean, I think for attachment styles to say that a natural disposition needs to be studied, I think that's a big take. You know what I mean? Like, because so much affects it. But I don't know. Here I am today. You know, in spite, in the face of everything, here I am today. So yeah, I guess maybe.
So, I mean, to go back to Jamar's initial question about how does culture play into attachment styles? So, I mean, one thing I thought of, like, I think in Asian culture, and this might be veering towards something that's more controversial, thank you. But I think in Asian culture, it's much more, quote unquote, normal for a parent to stay at home and like be a homemaker than maybe like in like Western society, for example. So like I guess my question is like I wonder if that affects like specifically in an Asian household the attachment style.
I would imagine so.
Yeah, probably.
Sorry.
Like it has to, right?
Yeah.
I feel like the presence of the parental figure, whether it's like your actual parent or grandparent or whatever it is, like the constant presence like must make like a difference. And like if both parents are like working and you have like a non-parental figure that's watching you all the time but not necessarily like giving you the type like a nanny is not going to give you the same love or like actions of love as like your parent is going to, right? Like for the nanny it's a job, and for the parents like it's a whole different thing. And so I feel like that has to like affect how a person like views themselves, and like, you know, and we see this in media all the time, right? The people whose like parents like worked all the time, they were latchkey kids, right? Like they grow up with this idea that like they were not important in comparison to like their parents' jobs, and then so that affects like their attachment style.
Yeah, but I think you know what's interesting though. I just thought that came to my mind. It's like the Asian kids, like our generation of Asian American experience, is going to be so different attachment style wise than the upcoming generation.
Oh yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Because more like our generation, girls are now working and like women are working, and rightfully so. And so like I feel like the Asian American experience includes a nanny or includes a daycare now.
Mhm.
But contrary, when we were growing up, it was almost unimaginable. Our parents were always home,
Yeah.
right? So I know that's been so interesting. I wonder if it's like if that's the case, then is our Asian American experience dying? Like not in a bad way, but is it just phasing
I mean, it's
out?
definitely like Americanizing.
Yeah.
I see that.
No, I mean something I wanted to bring up is like, and the Asian sort of touched upon it by mentioning grandparents. Like, I think the idea of having an extended family, like maybe it's a lot less popular amongst like second generation or even first generation Asian Americans, but like I think it's still maybe more present than in other cultures. So like, yeah, I think maybe there's a higher rate of like both parents working in the workforce for like our generation of people, but at the same time like our parents, so the children's grandparents,
Oh yeah.
might be like still in the household.
Yeah, wait, 100%. The fact that
Yeah.
Western culture has a thing called a nursing home
Yeah,
in its existence
that's
is a
very
huge
Nursing homes.
it's huge.
Also, like even just the idea that like when you're 18, like you go off on
Yeah,
your own
that's
and you
huge.
separate
Huge
yourself
difference.
from your parents, like
Yeah.
that is such not a thing in like the Asian culture.
Absolutely
Like
not.
for someone to live with their parents into their late 20s, like it's so normal. Or and I think it's becoming a little more normalized in America, not out of choice, but just because of
The
like, our
economy.
economy. But
That's true.
but it's like almost expected or like desired by a lot of parents. Like parents want their kids to be home as long as possible until like they're married. And like even in a lot of Korean culture, like even after you're married, there's some homes who have very traditional views where like you're expected to stay in the house at least a year into your marriage.
Or like, I mean,
Yeah. Or like
for
forever.
perpetuity,
Yeah, or for
exactly.
perpetuity.
Perpetuity, yeah.
I do wonder, like, one thing I have been wondering about is like, what is going to be the attachment styles of all these babies that were born during COVID, where like their parents were there 24/7 for the first 2 to 3 years of their life, whereas like, and studies talk about that a lot, right? About like how the first like few years of your life is like the most critical to your like brain development and your like just like things like your attachment style. Like the first like couple of years, even first year of your life is like very important to developing that. And like a whole generation of babies had their parents there 24/7, like both parents. Like that, I feel like that's like pretty unprecedented. I'm
They
very
might be more
curious.
secure almost. I feel
I'm
like.
very
Yeah.
curious like how that's gonna turn out, and like will they be more secure? That's my assumption,
Yeah.
but also like when like you know the way our school system works, it's like you go off to school and like you go away from your parents. Like will these kids who are used to having their parents there all the time, all of a sudden being like put into like daycare, like will that affect how they turn out?
Yeah, I think something I was talking with my college pastor of a church, and he was saying like with this new generation of the youth kids and everything, it seems like there's a notion that they're a lot more disrespectful to figures of authority. And I think while it is true, like they stay home with their parents, there is that lack of an in-person teacher who is monitoring their actions, their behaviors, and everything. And I think that is like, it's not really much about attachment styles, but kind of taken away of like, the respect for authority. And I guess much more.
That's so true.
Yeah, it's
Adding on to that, I also do think like especially with millennials, like my generation, I feel like we grew up with parents who are so authoritative that a lot of my peers, I like have this thought of like I want to be best friends with my kid rather than like I want to be my kid's parent. Like I also want to be their friend, and so like they mix a bit of that like authority versus like that friendship style, like parenting casualness. So I feel like that also affects like how these kids are like being brought up. Is like they don't really understand what an authority figure is because it's never existed for them.
Yeah, I think a lot of these factors are so interesting, and I think kind of what we're saying too, like other parents or like grandparents pouring into as far as attachment style. It's super interesting because like, let's say you have a single parent, single mom, single dad, and they have an anxious attachment style. It's not like you're bone, but like it's not like they know anything better, you know, to put you in that kind of situation. But something my professor said, it's like a beautiful thing about, at least in terms of like one man and one woman marriage, is like a lot of benefit of like that. Even if they both don't have a secure attachment style, they both draw in of like their strengths of their attachment styles and pour it into like their kid. And yeah, I think it's like pretty interesting. And you know, on the broader sense, like what we were saying with like Asian culture, they like grandparents, all these kind of other assets who do try to pour in like the best part of themselves into you, so that you can be the best that you possibly can. Yeah, I think anyone else have anything to say about that?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna just maybe mention like the flip side of Asian culture and maybe some of the things that maybe we as a generation need to work on is like I think acts of showing love is kind of foreign to us. It's very much like cut fruit. It's like very practical, and our culture is very performance based. Like love is awarded when you do something for me, and I wonder if that creates problems.
You know, on that topic though, I might be the only one who thinks this way. It's fine. But growing up, I followed a lot of my parents. I think it's because I try to, like I kind of mentioned before, apply my Western standard of love to their Eastern way of showing love, right? And so I just didn't understand them. Like I was like, dude, you don't love me. Like, why are you constantly making me do all things? But you know, actually, like my relationship with my parents is the best it's ever been. And I think a big part of that is nothing that they've done. They haven't really changed. It's my perspective switching, right? And so I almost hesitate on answering that question because it's in our Western way of thinking. It's like you're wrong. Like you're not showing me love, right? But what maybe Western culture doesn't account for is the incredible amount of things that they do. You know what I mean? It's like I think an example is like a toxic trait that maybe we attest to a lot of Asian parents is like performance based, whatever, right? I think if we were to flip it in an alternate universe where your parents didn't push you to be the best you possibly can be, what are you going to end up like? You know what I mean? Like, sure, you might end up okay, but if I'm a parent and I have the option of like just like pushing my kid in a healthy way, hopefully, to be the best they could possibly be, versus just not caring about their development, you know what I mean? So it's like I maybe if you asked me this question 5 years ago, I'd be like, oh yeah, like it needs to fix this and this, but my relationship with my parents has improved exponentially of understanding like there is no reason why I should be putting my Western expectations on your Eastern way of showing love. You know what I mean? That's just unfair. Like also because they're like 30 years older than I am. But you know what I mean? It's like that's just the way they grew up. And I think it's our job as children and in a completely different culture that they immigrated to understand them rather than them adjust their love styles to us. Like that's just my personal belief. Yeah.
No, I mean I would disagree with you.
I think there is much to be learned from like how we were raised, and like I think what's important is like being bicultural. All of us, like it's all about like taking the best of both sides and like applying it to the next generation and like breaking curses, right?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Like there is that level of like you seeing in media like how like white people treat each other and like how parents treat their kids and being like, well, how come my parents aren't doing that to me? And then there's like the practical things that our parents did that like made us into who we are. And so like we have to like, I think it's all about breaking those curses and like applying the things that like make sense and like really thinking through like why we're doing the things we do. And like I think one thing to learn from like the Western side is like communication, right? Like if our parents like told us like the reason why I'm doing this
For sure.
and acting like this is because of X, Y, and Z, I might have taken those things very differently.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and not have to wait until I'm in my 20s to be like, oh, that's why they did that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or like even just saying I love you, right? Like that's just not really a thing in like Asian cultures, except for Sadad, luckily.
Yeah.
You know?
No, but I mean even then it's like you know.
But still,
it's
you know what I mean? Like,
it's not.
but I do see it in my friends, right? Like they say I love you to their kids.
Yeah, for sure.
That you know they didn't receive that, and so like you know we have the opportunity to do better.
Yeah, I think that kind of leads into like our one of our last questions, but it's like how about your like how do you think your parental attachment style influenced like your own, and how do your parents directly affect your attachment style and stuff like that? Because I think that's kind of what we're alluding to essentially. And I think for me it's like, it's like, yeah, I think growing up I had a lot of complaints about how my parents raised me, but I think just now that I'm like, growing up and kind of just understanding the reality of the world, I don't think I have a complaint about how my parents raised me. Like for like as hard as they pushed me, they like I remember like now it's like these little things are coming back to me. It's like every time I would get in trouble, like my mom would pop off at me. She'd be like, I love you, right? Like she's screaming. I was like, I love you, right? I'm like, yes, like these kind of things, right? And like I think, but I think back then it's like, man, screw you, mom. Like you just went off at me, like you're just trying to compensate. Like that's kind of how I always felt it. But it's like those little things make a huge difference, right? Or like my dad, who was like really busy, would come home. He's like, he'd always apologize, like I'm sorry I couldn't spend time with you, right? Back then I'm like, dude, screw you. Like why are you so busy? But it's like now that I look at it, it's like, oh, like he like genuinely meant it. And like I think he just like about my dad too. It's like he's so busy, but he would always like watch a movie with us. Like it's like a small window, like maybe an hour and a half, like 2 hours, but like. Yeah, like I think me working full time now, like you understand just how tired your body gets after work or these kind of things, but to like sit down and watch a movie with your kids, share some popcorn, like make an effort to go to the theater. Like even when I go back home to visit my dad, he's like, hey, let's go watch a movie, right? It's the only thing he knows how to do. You know what I mean? It's like what is he gonna do at age 50, like whatever, play basketball with me? You know what I mean? So it's like he's like, let's go watch a movie. Like those little things. It's like as I grow up, I'm like, oh, my parents did an incredible job raising me, and so I think I can attest to like. I mentioned like a disposition about like my secure attachment style. Like I'm sure that's true, but the other part is just like I just have no complaints about how my parents raised me. It's like they've sacrificed so much, and I think that's a big part of why maybe I am the person I am today. So
I mean, I've talked about how grateful I am with my parents. I think they did an amazing job at raising me. I think they did the best they can, and I'm loving mom and dad.
Yeah, shout out mom and dad.
Shout out mom and dad. No, but I think a logical question, and this might lead us into a conversation that has nothing to do with the attachment styles, but the logical question is like, how do you want to raise your child? And specifically, like, what if down the road you realize like, okay, no, one parent needs to be at home? Would you be willing to be a stay-at-home dad? Or would you ever have that conversation with your significant other? Hey, like, would you be willing to stay at home? Yeah.
I mean, I've been thinking about this a lot actually recently. Just like a lot of my friends are married, they've got kids, and I see them raising their kids, and like I think about like, well, how would I raise my own children? And more I think about like, wow, I don't think I would change a lot about how I was raised, and like I think I would apply a lot of the same kind of principles and like methods in how I raise my own children. There's definitely going to be things I do change, but for the most part, like I don't know, I'm pretty satisfied with how I was raised. I think I'm a sane human. You guys can say otherwise, but I think I'm a pretty sane human that's like doing doing whatever I need to do, and so I don't know. I don't think I would change much.
Yeah, I think I haven't really thought about this question often at all, to be honest. But I think for the most part, I'm very appreciative of how my mom raised me. I think something she tried to implement into me is like, I think the best way for me to explain is like, there's like ways to teach her, or there are ways that you can learn how to swim. But like my mom was always like, oh, let's just throw you in the middle. Like throw you in the middle. I think as like a lifestyle, like mantra, philosophy, it's like, my mom kind of like threw me into things and made me figure my own way out. She didn't really like baby me too much, and she kind of kept like a distance where she was watchful, but like really is like my own autonomy. I think in that kind of way, I think that's something I value a lot, and a big reason why I'm here, why I'm at where yeah. Yeah, I think that would be my answer to that question.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is a little off topic, but like, so I think one of the most attractive like traits a person can have is ambition. So sure. like not only would I be okay with my significant other like having a professional career, like I would do everything I can to like support it and encourage it. However, if my significant other came to me and said, like, hey, I think it's best. Like, I would rather stay home. I think that's what's best for our family right now. Like, I'd be like, all right, it's go time. Like, I gotta provide for my family.
Yeah.
And then but on the flip side, like, yeah, like, again, like, I should be willing to make the same sacrifice if it's like I need to spend more time at home. Then like, I mean, like, money comes and goes. Your personal ambitions are whatever, but like when you have a family, that's your number one goal. That's my perspective.
I mean, honestly, if we can afford it, I'm so down to be at home.
Yeah.
Daniel, have any final thoughts on your end?
About how I would raise my kids and stuff like that.
Yeah, just last question.
Yeah, I think I would raise my kids very similarly to how my parents did to me, but with a little of a softer approach. I don't think there's many people that can probably survive my parents' parenting. It's unique, to say the least. I think it's very unique. It worked, but it's unique, and I'm sure they tailored it to the kid. Like, they raised me and my brother very differently, right? So it's tailored. So I would raise I think my answer is I would raise them similarly, but to be honest with you, I don't think I will. You know what I mean? It's like just knowing myself. I think.
You're an enabler.
Yeah, I am an enabler, and so I think just knowing myself, I think I need to find someone that's like probably more the iron fist method. Yeah, I just knowing myself. But I would like to raise my kid. I think I would raise my kids. The thing I would keep no matter what is pushing them to be their best, like no matter how that looks like, and seeing how that lands. And so yeah, that's that. What was the other question? The stay at home thing, right? Yeah. So I think for me, this is actually super relevant because I want to get into education. The biggest thing, I'm gonna be super honest with you guys. If I ever teach your kids in the future, I love you guys, but the real reason I want to be a teacher is I'm gonna go home at 3. You know what I mean? It's like I want to be home when my kids are home from school.
Yeah.
That's like the number one reason, right? So like, right now I've been like contemplating a career switch into like the sports industry and these kind of things, but that's short term. Like I think long term, I know for a fact I'm going to be a teacher because that's just so important to me, in my opinion. Like coming home from like being home when the kids are like, or when the kids are home, like making them a snack, it's like spending the time of the day with them, like not worrying about work outside of work. You know what I mean? Like these kind of things are very important. And like that way I can make a salary. Plus if my partner wants to like explore her career path, like I'll be there. If she doesn't, she'll be at home, like I'm still making money. I think it's just like a good balance. And so I think that's my answer to your question. It's just
I feel that in terms of like, now going back to like love languages and like I think one of the reasons why I appreciate like quality time so much is like my dad was not often able to be home in times where I thought was important, and in those times like he was spending time with like his ministry, and as a young person I would often think, how important are these people compared to your family that you're willing to spend time with them instead of your own children?
Mm-hmm.
And so like I definitely think that formed a level of like feeling like if I have children, I'm not gonna I'm going to spend as much time as I can with them.
Yeah, so I'll end up being a teacher one day. I just know it. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. I think that's everything I really want to talk about. I think the main emphasis was like our culture. I think a lot of people are aware about love languages, action styles, but like Asian American culture is so rich, and like even among us it's like we have so like it's so different amongst us. It just feeds us differently. Yeah, so
we're not a monolith.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so anyone with closing thoughts?
You're not gonna ask that last question you wrote.
No. The last question will be like another episode. Open up a whole black hole of opinions, thoughts.
I can answer that for like Alex.
We're gonna have to eat some jajangmyeon.
Yeah.
The question was, why do we think we're all single? LOL. That's literally what it says on the paper.
Next episode.
Why is it pointed towards me?
Huh?
Why is it pointed towards me?
You're just my punching back today.
Sorry, you're stupid. Okay, you're stupid.
I'm just gonna let you
Yeah, other than that, I think this was awesome conversation. Very rich in our own experience, and hopefully for you guys watching, everyone listening, as we go through these questions, hopefully you guys can go over them. Go over them with yourselves.
So play by play.
Yeah.
Pause. What do I think?
Yeah. I think it'll be pretty fun. But that is it for our podcast today.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Jemar, for bringing this topic.
Yes, thank you, Jemar. What do we always say? We need to have a closing.
Like, subscribe, check out our Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, the Quad Podcast. We're available everywhere. Check it out.
Yep. All right, bye.
I'm also single.
Okay.
Okay. That's what I mean.
That's crazy.